All right, we are live on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Thank you very much, Randall, Tori, Jonathan, for joining our
Mhm.
session. And it's so wonderful to have you today as a guest speakers. So I think we have to wait a couple minutes, just our viewers can join us. Oh, it's so fast. Already our online visitors join us. Good evening, dear friends, dear teachers. Welcome to the Bishkek American Center Facebook Live on Enhanced Instructional Methods in Distance Learning. And today, English language specialist Randall Gwynn, Tori Temple, and Jonathan Crocker will share about training program for teachers in online distance learning. Moreover, they will be highlighting some of the main concepts of the training and the participants project because teachers from all around Central Asia have participated in this wonderful seminar. So thank you very much once again. Of course, if you have questions, you can ask them during the live under this video. You can type them in the comment section, and after our panel session, our guest speakers will answer them. So I'd like to start with, oh,
Sorry,
sorry.
try ask one question as we start. I'm getting some messages from people who aren't able to join the session or can't find it. Could you share the link, the live link to this in the chat so I can pass it on to them?
So I think everyone who wants to see ours live, they can go to our Facebook page, Bishkek
Okay.
American Center, and our video will appear there. It's already there.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, uh-huh.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you,
they
Randall.
have to click the videos link though. It's not on the homepage.
Okay.
So the video here, I'm going to put the Facebook direct link to that in the chat.
Great.
That's it right there.
So I will share it in the comment section. So yes, I already sent our link to our viewers.
Yeah, the Facebook page has the welcome thing, and then if you click on videos, then bam, there we are.
Okay.
Great. Yes. So yes, we can start our session. So the first question for all of you, please tell us about the program overall.
All right. Well, I'll give a little introduction at first, since I was the first person that Gulnara Nazarbekova from the Lingua Center in Bishkek contacted about this. It was about a year and a half ago. She sent me a really kind email asking if I'd like to help design a program for STEM trainers. And so for STEM methodology, it was people who teach science, technology, engineering, and math. And she said it would be maybe an 18-month or 1 year program. And we didn't know if there would be funding or not. So I said, oh, let me know. And we got funding for that. And it was a great program. We had really great participants. But right before the final project, COVID hit. And so no one could do their final projects last April because all the schools in Central Asia closed. And we had teachers from 4 different countries in Central Asia. So I talked with her, and she went back to the U.S. Embassy. And the U.S. Embassy was sponsoring all of this program. And they agreed to redesign it to train teachers for online distance teaching, and thought, well, we'll have something ready so that by August, when teachers go back to class face-to-face, they might have one small program they can do online. So that's when I contacted Tori and Jonathan and said, hey, guys, do you want to help me work on this? And they really graciously agreed. And we got started, and then COVID kept going. And now we're finally wrapping up the program. I think almost all the teachers in the program are teaching online now. And yeah, that's been a really exciting program from my point of view, seeing how people have taken some of these ideas. So Tori and John, what do you have to add?
I don't know. That's pretty conclusive. Just when you offered the opportunity to step up and do this, I thought, wow, this sounds completely impossible. I'm in because the way he painted the picture, he goes, well, and Randall is so traditionally humble and understating. And he goes, well, we're going to teach them how to teach online, but the internet is, well, it's not good. And when he meant not good, it's horrible and unpredictable and sporadic. And we're going to teach them how to teach online in these crazy conditions. And so that was the challenge that laid in front of us. And I loved the challenge. That's kind of why I signed up.
Yeah.
Similar to Tori, I had after this past spring when all I'll just say COVID happened. It's still happening, but in my own school district, those of us who are distance education experts were asked to train the rest of the people in our school district how to teach online. So I had just done this, but in our school district, we have several villages that are accessible only by airplane or boat, no roads to them or anything. And so they're very remote and have very poor internet. And I had already been training all of these teachers from these villages how you can teach online when you have very bad internet. And so it was something I was already doing. So I was eager to share more.
Great.
And just for those of you who came in a little bit late, I'm now in Bishkek. Tori lives in California, and Jonathan is in Alaska. So we're spread out across quite a few time zones right now, working on this. So
It's really great. Thank you very much, Randall, Tori, and Jonathan. All of you mentioned that now we have a lot of online opportunities for teachers, everything online, and have a lot of online seminars, trainings. And what do you think? What made this program different from other online teaching training programs?
Well, I think one of the things that's helped with this is Tori, Jonathan, and I are all in a program from Boise State University in the U.S., where we're all working on our doctorate degrees in educational technology. So we've been working together for years, trying to study how people learn online. And all of us have experience teaching online. But I think, so that's one of the things that will filter through everything else. We're all doing research on this already. But one of the biggest things that I think is different from this program and what most of the teachers in Central Asia have done since COVID hit is we didn't teach at all about how to do Zoom in this program. We really focused on how to design asynchronous learning and make the best use of technology with instructional design and planning, not just turn on your camera and try and make it feel like your normal class. That's the number one thing that stood out to me.
I think too that there was, having taught people or tried to train people in technology-rich environments, like Southern California, for example. The networks are robust, and the kids have devices. It's actually, I think, more difficult to teach teachers in a more robust technology environment because they want to use the Zoom, like Randall said, like their actual classroom. And so they try to use the technology to make it as comfortable for their prior experiences as possible. And it turns out that doesn't work real well. The content has to be packaged differently to make it more successful, because staring at a screen for 45 minutes and listening to somebody talk, granted, kids today have a very high screen endurance, but nobody's endurance is that high. So I think that the students that were in our program, the teachers and professionals that were with us, I think really got a superior training to the training that I tried to give to the people at home, because they were able to acquire new methods, not just the technology, but a way to think about how to present information over a distance. How do I interact over a distance? How can I deliver something that's usable in a package that they can work on and then reply back to? in this sort of minimalistic, and that requires a lot of creativity and intelligence and smarts to be able to construct that package and make it meaningful for the person on the other end to use as a learning tool.
Well, for example, like the doctoral courses that the three of us are all taking, we don't do Zoom meetings in those courses, hardly ever. And the courses that I teach, we don't do Zoom meetings. It's all based on designing the course so that people can access the materials whenever it's convenient for them, because it's going to be different for everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Randall, go ahead.
Good. No, go after you.
Well, I was just going to mirror Jonathan's comment, because when we have this, it's a very strange double-edged sword, because I have students here that are in low economic conditions or are culturally very different than those who are predictably in U.S. schools, and their parents will intervene into their learning experiences during this synchronous environment. So the family culture played a huge role in the success or the lack of success that students had online. So if we plop them in front of the computer, we have their attention. But part of the problem with that is that there are cultural pockets in the U.S. where the parents or the family does not care that they're in front of a computer learning right now. If they're at home, they're at home. And if the mom or dad wants them to come with them, they're coming with them. So to have these packets of information that can be done in a ubiquitous manner, where they can do it whenever, however, and the information they need for the learning is at their disposal when they need it, became a huge motivator, a frame, a focus for the type of material that we were trying to get people to learn how to make.
Yeah. And I think that's going back to your original question, like, how is this different from other training? Most of the other training that I've seen, even like YouTube videos and things like that, are helpful, but a lot of it focuses on how to try and do your normal class online. And we really try to get away from that idea. Just like if you want to teach someone how to move in water, you don't tell them how to stand up and walk in water. You teach them how to swim. And that's sort of a little bit more of what this was like. We try to say, think of your goals for your class, think of your objectives, and now all the things that you used to do to really make that fun and energetic, you probably can't do that. You have to find a new way to do it. Here are some new tools, some new ways to do it. And like Tori said, package it in ways that students can do online without just trying to watch a computer for hours and hours a day.
Yeah, I would say too that I've been working on a program that's designed to do that, but it was originally designed to do that in a classroom. So there was this sort of captive audience component. And even though I've spent years developing this system that has the ability to be accessed anytime, any place, anywhere, I'm still learning that may not be enough. I may have to change my design methodology even further to accommodate for the distance and the sort of disconnect that I have where I would normally have in the classroom. I have a very authoritative presence where I can control what's happening. At a distance, I have no control.
Yeah.
So the packaging has to be done in a very strategic manner. And I would even make the argument that we could learn some lessons from Hollywood on how to do this, because Hollywood packages things. They have no control, however the audience deals with it, and then they deliver it, and they use very advanced psychological dissonance programming and design in the programs that they deliver. And I think that we could, maybe our next course needs to be on dissonant design, so that you drop the mystery in there, and it's this very human nature to want to discover and unravel mysteries that we create and present the information.
Yes, that's very interesting. Thank you.
Even us who are professionals still are discovering this is new ground for everybody.
Mhm. So how did you teach teachers? I mean, which platform did you use for that?
We so you're talking about like which online tools did we use? Or
Yeah.
yeah, so the basic course we set up through Moodle. Moodle is it's a program that you can download free and use for a large school system. So that was our basic tool. But then within that, Jonathan was our expert on G Suite for education. He did a lot of training on how to use different G Suite tools from Google Classroom, Google Sites, things like that. And then Tori is our expert on HyperDocs, and that's creating all sorts of different interactive documents. Do you want to tell some more about that, Tori?
It's an interesting paradigm that hasn't really existed so much. It's what remember we were talking about those packages. Well, these are enclosed deliverable packages that have interactive links to videos or perhaps other web pages that support the information that's trying to be delivered. So these little packets, which could be designed in Google Suite or in like a Google Doc or slides, or it could be done on a Padlock or any other digital device that delivers something that has content within it, and everything the student needs is in that document. And they call it a hyperdoc because it's got a lot of hyperlinks in it. But the idea is that everything they need is there, they do what they need to do, and then they send back the product that represents the fact that they finished the learning cycle. And then once that's done, the next one is presented.
It's
So we,
yes.
yeah, with all of these programs though, we tried to use things that are pretty easy to use when you start out, because we knew a lot of the teachers in the program don't have a lot of technical support at their schools. And we tried to use things that are free in Central Asia. So for G Suite tools, if you don't have that for your school, you can apply to Google and probably you can get that for your school free. And it's an amazing set of online tools. The HyperDocs, what you can design using all sorts of free tools. Moodle has free versions that you can use. So we tried to use things that all the participants can use in their different environments.
Yeah, thank you very much for your great recommendations. What were some of the biggest surprises from this program?
I've answered first the other times. You guys go first.
I was surprised at how skilled most of the teachers already were at a lot of these tools. And maybe that's because there was a lot of overlap from the previous STEM program. So there were a lot of teachers that had already gone through some training. And just such a wide variety of expertise. And even though teachers in general, they had already started using some of the tools that we were teaching them, they were also very eager to learn more and become masters at it. So I think that in the process, everybody became a lot more well-rounded and learned how to use a lot of different tools, and they could decide which ones are the best for their situation. But yeah, I was very impressed with the expertise of the participants.
Yeah, and I would add to that. I was a little surprised at how willing everyone was to learn something new. The plasticity, the flexibility that the participants demonstrated was certainly not something that a lot of the very coddled U.S. teachers tend to present when you're trying to train them. They often have this like, oh, is another thing we have to do, and oh, I don't have time for this. It's which is something that training U.S. teachers sometimes you run across, and I did not see that at all. And the other thing I was really surprised at, and this is maybe more of a cultural thing that I just bathed in. I loved it. It was so positive. Everybody was so supportive to everyone else, and I'm like, wow, what is this? It doesn't happen that often here, and I just really enjoyed it.
Yeah. There's a WhatsApp group that was started I think by the participants, and it was like almost a daily encouragement to open
Yeah.
that and see people saying, wow, congratulations on this, congratulations on this. And it's like, wow, people in Central Asia are so nice. So that was really encouraging for me. Another big surprise, and I've worked in Central Asia in different ways since 2004. So in a lot of different parts of the education system. And so I sort of had some negative attitudes towards some parts of different systems in different countries, because often it was so controlling. Like teachers had to do a certain lesson in a certain way, and they weren't allowed to change it. And the school administrators and other faculty supervisors for the people in this program were wonderful, I think, because the people in this program came up with really creative, constructive learning activities where they had collaboration, they had project-based learning, they had all these things that we really wanted them to do, and they were able to. Their colleagues supported them, and it ended up, I mean, the result was just some beautiful projects by people like, I see in one of the chats here, Mahina Usmonova she came up with some great projects for helping her students do like project-based learning, using algorithms to create sandwiches, and just really creative things that are not in a typical Central Asian curriculum. But she was able to do these things, and other people created their own learning management systems for their schools. Other people created their own teacher training programs based on this. I was really surprised by how creatively and effectively so many participants passed on the ideas from this.
Oh,
It was also on that note, I was talking to Ina here on the chat, and she was saying that when she was interacting with the locals and the districts and the professionals that she was trying to interact with, she said that there was surprisingly to her, it was surprising that how many people resisted the idea of asynchronous education, and that they wanted to be face to face with somebody, which is interesting. I can kind of see where that would be a thing, because this is the comfort zone, me telling you as the teacher here's what to do. She was also saying that some of the schools and local leaders were almost demanding entirely synchronous classrooms, and she said that a couple of reasons was lack of preparation. They weren't ready to do this, and then secondly is just sort of what I'm going to say is she said lack of a willingness to learn new things. I'm going to add to that and say that it might be just cognitive overflow. This is such a new situation. Stressful situations tend to reduce the amount of things that the brain can handle at any point in time. And they just I can't deal with one more thing. And so maybe that also produced an unwillingness to try to adapt to new situations and new trainings to accommodate for the situation, just because it was so different.
Yeah. And just on top of that, Tori, all the participants did all the program in English. Even people who are math, even the ones who are math or physics teachers, all this conversation and reading and videos had to be in English. So it would have been exhausting.
Yeah, exhausting.
But they did really well.
I liked your productive work and the positive atmosphere in this seminar. So thank you very much. So I want to ask you the next question. So you worked with Central Asian teachers, and we partially covered about the technologies. But what do you think? What are some of the methods or maybe technologies that you would recommend most highly for teachers in Central Asia?
That's a tough one. I mean, I think that you need a delivery platform. That goes, I think, without saying. So there needs to be some platform, Google Suite, Moodle, something that represents a centralized distribution and it has to be low bandwidth. It can't have a lot of the fluffy graphics and fancy multimodal type interactions. It has to be very clean and simple.
Mhm.
But secondly, I think that part of the reason why I selected the HyperDoc as a tool to instruct is that despite the size, the HyperDoc itself is a beefy document. It's fairly sizable in its download bandwidth.
Mhm.
But it's something that you could set it, and even at a low download speed, you could set it overnight and it would download. And then you have the ability to interact with it and work with it. And you don't necessarily need the internet to do it. Or the HyperDocs can be built in such a way that, because I know the Adobe Acrobat has a way to embed websites into a document. So it'll pull the website off of the site and embed it into a PDF document. So these things can be big, but at the same time, it provides a certain illusion of interactivity at a distance with lackluster internet connections.
Mhm.
And I think that there's not a specific technology that needs to exist that doesn't already exist. All the tools that we were using are things that you can get online right now for free. The real thing that needs investment is improved internet and infrastructure like that, and devices that students can use to access these things. So I think that if there's somebody, whether it's a school district or local government, if they're looking for ways to support online education, they don't need to buy software or anything like that. They need to improve internet speed and provide devices for students and for teachers if the teachers don't have them.
Yeah, that's a good point. And with that, there are new technologies that come out every month. There are new tools. So really, in paying money for a lot of tools isn't the key. Just like Jonathan and Tori have said, I think Central Asia would really benefit from more devices and better internet. Kyrgyzstan is doing pretty well compared to with a lot of the other countries, but our participants from Tajikistan and parts of Uzbekistan they really had a hard time because the internet was too slow or not consistent. With that though, just as a little tip, I saw Linda Mozachowski, one of my colleagues from years ago in Uzbekistan, put up a question about what if language learners are working individually offline and they want to master speaking skills, what would it be a good tool for how to respond to that? And she was asking more specifically about face-to-face, or not face-to-face, but synchronous communication. It reminded me that one of the tools that seemed to really take off with these participants was Flipgrid. So if you're not one of the groups, if you haven't used that already in this group, the tool Flipgrid, Flipgrid, is something that lets you do short videos for a class and then respond asynchronously. And that got some great discussions from some people, and some of the teachers have used it really creatively in their classes. And it doesn't take up a lot of bandwidth because students can just do it from their phone, and it's pretty quick and easy. So that's one tool for listening and speaking that I'll throw out there, even though this training was more about how to think about, like, the methods of how to think about asynchronous teaching than it was about specific tools that you would use.
That's fine.
And to go along with that is, and Randall was just saying that actually, but it was just as much about how to design your course to use these tools that maybe don't require having a Zoom course. So it was very much about thinking about things and designing them in a way that works well for everybody.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So let's imagine that if you, what would you do differently if you did this program again?
Do it when COVID is not happening, so that
Yes.
so that the teachers can spend more time and be less stressed and focus on it, and not be in a hurry, so that
Yes.
and so that the teachers don't have to start teaching online right away, so that they can have time to practice and try out their designs with each other and get feedback and all that. So just more time is key. More time and less stress.
Yeah. Jonathan, high five. Yes. With my example before, I said it was sort of like teaching people to swim instead of just walk in the water. Except when COVID hit, it's sort of like we just took people into the middle of the lake and pushed them off the boat and said, okay, now listen to our instructions. So everyone was, it was really difficult once September began, especially.
Mhm.
The participants had so much work to do that we redesigned the end of the program so that they could show what they're actually doing in class, not some imaginary program or imaginary class that they had planned to teach. But yeah, that's a good point.
Yes, and I personally think that online work requires more effort than offline. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's just my point
There's
of view.
a certain degree of preparation that is required, and I've also noticed too that in the process of trying to be, teaching my own classes online, that I don't have as much opportunity to multitask. Normally in the classroom, I can set them down, and because I'm there and they're there, there's a certain degree of control, even though I'm not directly in front of them, so I can multitask on other things. I realized I've become far less productive now that I have to be right in front and I have to monitor things and interact with folks. And I can't wait for COVID to go away.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciated the challenge. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I'm ready for it to be over.
Yeah.
Yes.
What? Now, if we could do it again in a situation without COVID, so I think one thing that I'd probably want to do is maybe earlier in the program, build more time for how should we didn't want to make this a course about synchronous learning. We really wanted to teach asynchronous approaches, but having some sort of more synchronous events somehow early in the program would have helped, because so much of the interaction that happens in forum discussions and things like that is based on your relationship. And when you're working in a foreign language, trying to type everything, it's hard to show your personality, and it's hard to build that trust. So we use Flipgrid and we use things like that a lot, but probably I'd have more synchronous events early in the program also. And for the people in this program who participated in the STEM training before, our face-to-face seminars were fantastic, because that's when how can you really build trust in Central Asia if you don't drink tea together and have that type of thing? So we need to have something more of that, even though we really tried to, but I'd like to do that better if we did it again.
Well, and we did at the very start, we focused on what we call, social presence.
Yeah.
And how at the start of a course, we need to do lots of, even if it's not meeting at the same time, but you can leave a Flipgrid video, or like we did, is we did a video discussion with the three of us, just introducing ourselves, and just lots of back and forth so that we can get to know each other first, because it's just to copy what Randall said, it's people are so much more likely to work for you and work with you if they have a relationship with you and they respect you and want to please you with their work, kind of thing. So it's so important to start by building that social presence and that positive relationship.
Yeah, it's true with students. It's true with adults.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And once you get online, it's really easy to forget that you're talking to a real person on the other side. You're not just answering emails. You're talking to real students and real colleagues, and it's easy to forget that.
Thank you very much, Randall, Tori, Jonathan, for your answers. So I think it's time to ask questions from audience. We received a lot of questions here. So let me check it. So the first question, dear Randall, Tori, Jonathan, is there any difficulties to teach EIMDL for us, teachers of various sphere?
Well, something that when we were doing this whole program, something that was a little bit challenging, and this is a challenge that I face with my own students, is that when we're teaching design and we're teaching how to create and design a course, we're using an approach called constructivism, where it's not about learning material and then taking a quiz. It's about creating something. And so when you're creating something, that requires that you have other people, colleagues, to give you feedback to help you improve it. And the same thing with having instructors there to help you improve it. So one challenge that we had is that just people being online at very, very different times made that a little bit challenging. Now, usually teaching in an asynchronous way, when we're not meeting all together in a Zoom course, you're always going to have people online at different times. But usually if it's like within a week or so, that's not too bad, that you share your project on the class board and somebody looks at it and then they give you feedback a few days later. That's okay. But if it's somebody that's giving you feedback 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later, then it's hard to use that feedback because you've already moved on with your design. Yeah. So that was one challenge, I think.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. The next question. What platform for teaching online do you recommend as information safe?
I'm not sure that
safe. I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah,
just a safe learning environment where there's not going to be a lot of interaction or potential bad information, or how do you know if the information is good quality information versus?
Well, I think that maybe if we're thinking about basic like information security, that's kind of what I think I'm going to. And I know that like I was kind of focusing on Google Classroom, and we were having some problems sharing our classrooms with each other because Google only allows you to see the classroom of people who are in the same school, who have the same school email. So in that sense, they have very nice built-in security, because you can't share you can't see somebody else's classroom unless you're part of the same school. So we had to each use a personal email to make a classroom that wasn't associated with a school, and we all had to use our personal emails. So that made it a little bit tricky, but that was also, I think, a good thing, because that just gives us more confidence in the security there. But I think any LMS that you use is going to be quite secure. And it also depends on your organization's security, if it's a school district or a university, and what kinds of firewalls they have and things like that.
Thank you very much for sharing this. I want to show you one comment. I'm so grateful to our mentors for giving me a chance to participate in this awesome course. I've learned a lot about online teaching from this well-designed course. Randall, Jonathan, and Tori, you're experts in your field. Thank you.
See, there's that positivity again.
I know. It's great. If this was a group of American teachers, we'd be seeing comments like, you guys are boring. You need to shave more. What's your problem?
Unengaging. What's wrong with them?
Jonathan has a really cool voice. Randall's voice is terrible. So you guys are just really kind.
Oh.
So,
really
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And one more question, I think it's comment. Totally agree with you about face-to-face learning. It was a really fantastic. Thank you for all you're doing, dear professors.
Nice to hear.
Well, thanks. Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. I don't see any questions. Some of
Um,
our participants ask them in private chat.
Actually, could I ask for something? I think there's a viewer named Chris Probst, who's actually one of our colleagues in the doctoral program. He sent me a message that he's watching this on Facebook. So, Chris, if you have anything to add, would you like to jump in as our guest Boise State colleague?
Chris
not sure if
Brooks. I
Yeah.
haven't seen that guy in ages.
Yeah,
Yes, he left comment.
there he is.
So,
All right. Thanks, Chris. So,
yes,
yeah.
we don't have questions for now. Maybe
Okay.
people watch us later and will ask later.
Yeah, we can go back to the Facebook and respond more. I just want to say as we wrap up, a big thanks again to the Lingua Foundation and Gulnara for all of her work organizing this, and for the U.S. Embassy for sponsoring it. And we would love to do things like this again. And the participants in this, I mean, we had people from teachers from elementary school through people working at the Ministry of Education in Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and this program started designed for about 40 people, and by the time we opened it for the online training, it was up to 80 people, and now there are almost 150 who are going through the program because people who have gone through it are passing it on. So we'd love to see that type of learning spread. There's a Facebook group for enhanced instructional methods and distance learning that you can join, and if it's an open group, so if you see this and would like to join and find out about what other teachers in Central Asia are doing, share your ideas up there. Participants, please share your projects, let people know what you're doing. And if you'd be interested in having a program like this for your colleagues or your faculty, put a message up there or contact me, and we'll see what we can do in the future. I can't make any promises yet because, yeah, we're all busy, but I'd love to know if people are interested.
Thank
A
you.
great thanks again for Lingua and the U.S. Embassy for your sponsorship.
Yes, that was amazing. Really
Yeah.
quite impressive.
Oh, while we were talking about other things, so we received 2 more questions. Can I ask
All right.
them?
Sure.
Thank you very much, Randall. You are so generous to share in-depth materials with us. Should we download the materials, or will you keep the course open?
I'll keep the course open at least for the next few months. So you don't have to rush to download it. I think for Moodle, if there's no activity after 3 months, the course closes. So I'll leave it open for the next few months, though, if you're a participant.
Randall, is there a way to export it out of Moodle into something that's, you can store it or reinstall it somewhere later?
There is. Yeah. If you're a participants in Moodle, there's a way to, I'll try and put up a video later on to explain it. But I think if you go into your participant page in Moodle, you can download all of your material for that. And then I can download the whole course and send it to you if you wanted to teach your own version of it. So if you've gone through the program and want to do that, let me know. We can help with that.
Thank you, thank you very much. One more question. I'm so grateful to be part of this program. Thank you for your effort and helping us during harsh time. How often do you use blended flipped classroom approach?
That's my wheelhouse right there. In contrast, and a lot of my fellow professionals they hated me a little bit because the system that I had built is built on HyperDocs, and it's built on the same kind of things that Jonathan and Rana were saying, where you have a centralized site, and then you have documents that you download that are, thematic related to each other and have all of the content built into them. I was doing this while the students were in the classroom. So it was a synchronous blended. I don't know if that's even such a thing, but that's kind of what it was. So the minute everything shut down and everyone had to move back home, there was no problem because they were used to using the system as if they were at a distance, but inside the classroom. So the minute they couldn't come back to the classroom, they knew how to use the system. So it was just, things went on just like normal. So I think that we may see the beginning, maybe, of a blended synchronous. It needs a new name because that's a terrible name, blended synchronous. I mean, blinkerness. I don't know, but
Yeah.
But I think
system.
yeah, we're gonna need something that's that allows for this sort of ubiquitous approach where everything can be accessed all the time, including face to face.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I'm kind of like with Tori. Last several years, I've used Google Classroom and Moodles in every class I've taught. So at my school, when we had to move online, for my students, it was pretty easy overall. We still miss seeing each other face to face, but that's, it was a fairly easy transition.
Yeah.
And now all the classes at my school are completely online. And we hope that with the Kyrgyzstan's new regulations, we can open face to face in January. But when we do, it's going to probably be half day face to face and half day online. So our school will never be the same again from this.
See, it's clear. Thank you very much, Randall, Tori. So I want to close up our session with, again, positive vibes. We received a lot of nice comments from the participants. I think after the course, I will miss your excellent discussions. Thank you for the positive attitude. Dear instructors, thank you for a great job. I have learned much from this course. I learned a lot from this course. I want to ask a lot of questions, but everything is clear in the Moodle platform. Appreciate your great job, Mr. Randall, Tori, and Mr. Jonathan. Thank you. So nice to receive this kind of comments.
Yeah,
Thank you very much once again, Randall, Tori, Jonathan, for this wonderful session. It was really interesting and very useful, and it was wonderful to have you today. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And now it's
Thank you.
time to close up our session. Have a great day, and please stay healthy.
Thank
Don't
you.
try.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone. See you in our next
Bye,
session.
everyone. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for everything.
Thank you very much for having us.